Good afternoon, folks on YouTube world and Facebook. This is me, Blue Ernie, again with another little mini video, and it's a question I've been pondering for a bit. I did a video last week called my top 10 splatter movies, and I did some thinking, and I thought I'd put a challenge out to everybody. Daniel Orton, 8 The Chosen One, and a few other people on YouTube and Facebook. I want you to do a short video and discuss and talk between ourselves about your top 10, that's 10, haunted house movies. Now when I mean haunted house, that could mean a hotel, it could mean a castle, it could mean a house, it could mean an apartment block, things like that. So, and it's not slasher films and it's not monsters outside trying to get in. It's about scary houses. When you go in, you feel a bit weirded. So I'm going to do my top 10. I might throw part 1 and 2 in together, things like that, but you know how it works. These are just my personal opinion, and they're in no particular order. So there's no number 1 to whatever. So I'm going to, I've wrote them down on this piece of paper, as you see. And it's a Sunday afternoon, May the 9th, 2015. So in no particular order, I'm going to start off with the Amityville Horror 1 and 2. Number 3 and 4 and all the other ones don't count in my opinion. These are the main 2 that are great. The original was Margaret Kidder, Rod Steiger and James Brolin. And the sequel, or prequel as they call it, starred Burt Young. It's basically about Amityville at the edge of New York. It's a house by a lake, and it's possessed, and it's got all scary things going on it. And good films. The first one, when it first came out in the late 70s, it made a lot of money. Everyone was frightened to go about seeing it. I've read the book. The book is better. The book is really, really scary. The film is pretty scary. It gets you going. There's not a lot. It's not gory, but it's a haunted house film, and it's another good. And the sequel, or the prequel, I went to the cinema in 1981, I think it was, to see, starring Burt Young from Rocky fame. And it was about the family, the original family, who were in the house and what happened to them, and how the son gets possessed by a spirit inside the house, and all things run amok. And it's a really good film, a good haunted house film, scary movie. Right, my next one up is, it was remade in the 90s with Liam Neeson and Luke Wilson in it. We're talking about the original now from 1963. We're talking about The Haunting. Now, I was born in 64, so I was too young. But when I seen it on TV in the 70s and the early 80s, and I watched it on video, it's basically about a group of scientists and skeptics and people who have to go to this house. They've heard rumours that it's haunted, it's scary and everything, and they all go in, a bit like 10 Little Indians. They all go in and they sit there and they think, and they've all got issues themselves. And to be totally honest with you, what gets me about The Haunting, and it's a fantastic film, is I can't really give the big secret away because it'd spoil it if you'd never seen it. But if you like doors rattling and banging and windows opening and closing and shutters banging and wind outside and sudden things burst in front of you and make you jump, these are the scary films that I like. I love horror films, gory and all that, but things that make me go ooh and all that sort of jazz are brilliant. The Haunting is one of them. It's very, very scary. It's atmospheric and it's black and white, so be careful. The remake, Jan de Bont from Twister and Speed fame, One Trick Pony. There you go. Not that good. Alright film, but it's not great. Next up is another haunted house film from the early 70s. Starred Rod Steiger. I can't remember, not Rod Steiger, I do apologise, Roddy McDowall and a few other people. I can't remember all the titles because I've wrote them down. But it's another bit like The Haunting. These skeptics, psychics and everything go to this house, and it's called The Legend of Hell House. The story is there's a man who was a nasty tyrant to his family hundreds of years ago, and he trapped his family and bricked them up behind walls in different rooms of the house, never to let them leave because he possessed everything they did. And these people go in to investigate all the things that are going on, and there's banging and doors going and creaky things and things flying in front of them and jumping out of closets and broom cupboards and everything. And it's really good fun. Roddy McDowall basically plays this wacko. It is a good film. It's really, really, really good. That's The Legend of Hell House. Second one up, it was remade, and they did a sequel to the remake as well, but I'm talking about the original, The House on Haunted Hill. Vincent Price, another black and white classic from the 50s. He basically is a multimillionaire, and he hires this. In the remake, they hired an asylum, but in this one, there's a proper house on the edge of the sea, and it's a big old haunted house, and he invites all these guests, like the 10 Little Indians. He invites all these people into this house to throw a party, and he says whoever survives the night will get $1 million or whatever it was in them days. And it's a black and white classic. It's fun in parts, but when I was a little nipper, around about 10 years old or something, I remember it being on the telly, because on BBC Two in England we used to have black and white double bills on a Saturday night. They used to show all the old Universal horrors from Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, and all of these films, and they used to put these old black and white double bill films on a Saturday night, and my mum and dad used to let me stay up to watch them. And I got one of the reasons, quickly going off course, the reason I got into horror films and scary films is I remember seeing the original Boris Karloff Frankenstein at my friend's house on the same street I lived in. At the top of the street he was, and his mum and dad let me watch it with him, and my dad said when it's over I'll shout you and you can run down the street and come home. And I had to pass 7 alleyways down this road, and I was only a babby, and I ran down this street and I crapped myself, and ever since then I love being scared. So going back to the house on Haunted Hill, 10 people, you have to stay the night, it's black and white, it's scary, it's funny, it's got some shocking bits in it. There's a scene in it with 2 people walking through this dark room downstairs, and they stop with this candle in the hand, and this curtain opens up, and this old lady just comes wheeling out, and it absolutely frightened the life out of me. Still does to this day. But it's good old-fashioned fun. The next one up is a 70s film, late 70s, starring Richard Crenna before he got famous with Rambo and all that stuff. I'm talking about a film called The Evil. Same again, group of people have to stay in this house in the middle of the swamplands of Louisiana or somewhere like that. And all sorts of manner of things go on. It's good fun, it's bumpity-bump, it's scary. And it turns out, there's loads of twists in it, but it turns out one of the twists is they're fighting the devil, and they don't realise the devil lives in this house. And all these people, all manner of things go. Some people die, some people don't. And it's a great little film. It's a rarity, it's not very well known, but if you ever get a chance to see The Evil, it's good, really good fun. Next up, another film from the early 80s. Toby Hooper and Steven Spielberg got together after E.T., or before E.T., it's in the same year as The Thing and E.T. and all that, and they decided to make a haunted house film called Poltergeist. Absolutely love it. Love Poltergeist. The Freeling family. Basically, Jud T. Nelson and his wife and kids and everyone live in this suburban house, all nice and cosy and lovely, and there's trees outside and everyone's playing. It's all lovey-dovey-dovey. And he's a real estate manager for the estate that he lives on, and he tries to sell people houses. But things start happening with the house. It all starts off with a little girl who keeps hearing voices from the TV, and she keeps sitting there and looking at static and shouting, they're here, and all these freaky things. And the upshot is it's a haunted, scary house. I won't give too much away. The remake is coming out this year. Why? I don't know, but they've decided to remake it. Sam Raimi's stuck his pencil to it, and It's going to be full of CGI and horrible things. I'm not looking forward to it. I'll watch it, but I'm not looking forward to it. This one is a proper scary haunted house movie. Poltergeist has got a lot of spooky images. It's got a bit of gore, but it's mainly scare the shit out of you on a Saturday night. And it's a good film. I can't say too much about it in case anyone wants to watch the original before the remake. But what I'll say to you is it's a 10 out of 10. Now, the rumour is that Tobe Hooper was only there as guidance from Spielberg. And most people say that Steven Spielberg made the movie because it's got too much of Spielberg in it. But I think Tobe Hooper did a really good job. It's a good, fantastic film. The sequel, I love the second one. And the third one, unfortunately, is pretty crap. But I'll do a report on the second one soon, or all three together. So that's Poltergeist 1982, top film. Right, moving swiftly on. This was a film made in the very early 70s in England. Starred Frankie Avalon from the Beach movies. And it had a lot of English-British cast of young people and stuff. And the film I'm talking about is called The Haunted House of Horror. It was another one I watched on a Saturday night when I was a youngster. Frightened the life out of me. Absolutely terrified. It's basically a group of students in London don't know what to do with themselves on a weekend, and one of them says, well, let's go up to such a house on the hill up and they have to drive out of town to get to it, and they all get beers together like most people do and decide to have a party in this old spooky house, this old run down, boarded up, huge massive house. And then while they're there, they're playing the games and the daft things that teenagers do, and they decide to all split up and explore the house, a bit like Scooby-Doo. And that's when things start happening. Is there not a killer in the group? Is there a ghost there doing things? And it's a really good, atmospheric, spooky film. And there's a couple of bloody scenes in it, a couple of really nasty splatter scenes, but I won't say too much. If you get a chance to find it on cable, whatever, download it anywhere, get a chance to watch it, it's good. That's The Haunted House of Horror. Next one up, Sean S. Cunningham in the mid-80s to late 80s, after Friday the 13th, running out of ideas for films and all that stuff. So he came on this idea and he made a scary horror comedy called House. Simple as that, House. About a bloke who's a writer who's just left Vietnam and everything, and he's trying to get back to normality, and he inherits this house. And he goes to live in this house, and everyone tells him, don't live in this house, it's haunted, it's this, that and the other. And he goes into the house and things start happening. And it's quite fun. Good laugh. Bit jumpy parts in it, but if you want a good fun laugh, watch House. Next one up, another one from the early 80s. And it's Stephen King's story, and about a massive hotel. And we are, of course, talking about Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, The Shining. Amazing. Wow, is this scary? Not too much blood as such. There's blood in it, but it's in the way it is, it's not too much. But a bloke who's a writer and his wife and his young son get a chance to spend 6 months of the winter looking after this hotel while it all shuts down for the winter. They've got to keep it running so nothing breaks when they decide to open in the spring. That's where the things start happening. The writer, aka janitor, starts hearing voices and seeing things, and the stories that happened at the Overlook Hotel from the 20s going upwards are all coming to true, or are they? And it's a very, very good film. In America, they've got a longer version. In England, it's just under 2 hours, because Stanley Kubrick trimmed it down and decided, no, I'm not having that. Don't need that. And he said the smaller version that we have is better. I have seen the American version. I like both, so I'm in the middle. But make your choice. That's The Shining. I've got 3 more to go. Second one's a double bill together. Sam Raimi, Bruce Tabard and Bruce Campbell go to the woods and make the original Evil Dead 1 and 2. Number 1, I was 20 when I went to the cinema to see it on a Thursday afternoon on my own. And I've heard about it, never heard anything much about it, because in them days we didn't have the internet, we didn't have nothing, we only had what was on the news. So we had to buy magazines and things and read about horror films and things like that. I went to the cinema, bag of popcorn, bit of toffee, sat down to watch it. I never ate the popcorn and I never ate the toffee. This bloody gore fest erupted in this haunted woods, in this little cabin in the woods. It's a scary little house. The whole of everything opened up. The gates of hell and everything, and I come out of there, I crapped myself, but I loved it, and I went back to watch it again. It was that good. Then a couple of years later, he decided to make Evil Dead 2, which is basically a remake of the Evil Dead 1, where they had more money, and they decided to make it more funny. And both are very good. Number 3's okay, it's totally on its own, nothing really about the Deadites and anything, but it's good fun. But Evil Dead 1 and 2, thumbs up. Next one, I've got 2 more quickly. The next one is another early 80s film starring Barbara Hershey, based on a true story. Ron Silver's in it as well. It's called The Entity. Absolutely, when I first seen it, I shit myself. Absolutely fucking crapped it. It's about a young mother, divorced, with a teenage son and a couple of young kids. She's trying to work her way around in this little house in California, San Francisco. And one day she's in the shower and she gets attacked by an unforeseen force and she doesn't know what's happening. Turns out that these a poltergeist spirits, supposedly, a spirit of a person that follows her everywhere she goes. But most of it's based in the house, and she has to. No one believes her everything, and this ghost is making her life hell. It rapes her, it does all sorts of horrible things to her. But it's a frightening film. And like most things, it's a classic, worth watching, absolutely bona fide brilliant. And unfortunately, Hollywood have decided they're going to remake The Entity. There you go. Probably some dumb blonde or some silly bloody teenage girl will play the part and full of CGI shit. But stick with the original, you can't go wrong. The last haunted house film is The Exorcist, the original 73 classic, 74. Linda Blair, possessed by the devil in this house. It starts off before that, you see the origins and where it's going, and then it ends up with this young girl being possessed by the devil. And if no one's ever seen The Exorcist, you're missing a classic. It is bona fide scary. It will shit you up. And there's some awful things in it, but it's a very scary haunted house film because everything the girl feels and does happens in the house to the various people living there, and it will frighten you. So that's my top 10, 12 haunted house films in no particular order. So I hope you enjoyed them. I'd love to hear your comments and hear your versions. Stick the videos on YouTube and I'll watch them, and we'll have a bit of banter between all of us, or on Facebook. Ernest Hayes on Facebook if you want to find me. Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the videos and see you soon. Bye.